everybody, welcome to the MudRoom, your weekly free uncommon sense parenting class. How is everyone today? I hope your May is going well. I just got back from my cousin's wedding, which was so much fun. It's really the first wedding that I've been able to attend where I wasn't pregnant or had a newborn baby or a young child. And I was able to leave my kids with my sister-in-law, so I actually got to party, which was a nice change of pace for me. After 2 years of not being able to go anywhere or do anything, I really enjoyed it. So I hope that you're also finally getting to go out and do stuff again. I know it's still much harder than it used to be, but that novelty really is great for our mental health. All right, today we're talking about focus. Something I hear from parents a lot is that their kids can't seem to focus. They're like that dog in Up. They see something new and shiny and they go, squirrel! And they bounce from one activity to the next without ever actually sitting down and settling in. Before we get into it, however, allow me to introduce myself. If you're new around here, hi, my name is Alana Robinson and I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. I help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or timeouts. I'm your host here on the MudRoom. I'm also the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator of the Parentability program where I help you raise well-behaved kids of your own. So if you're watching, say hi, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss another class. Okay, so focus is hard. I was recently diagnosed with ADHD, and it didn't really surprise me because staying attuned to something I'm not interested in or that I don't see a clear and fairly immediate use for is extremely difficult for me. That's one reason I try to make all of my content very actionable, because I assume y'all are like me, and if you can't see a use for it, you're going to discard it. Fair enough. So focus is, in essence, sustained engagement. It's the ability to tune everything else out and center your attention on a problem, activity, or interaction. Many parents feel that their child is unable to focus. They get distracted easily, they can't sit still, they're nosy. There's a million ways parents describe their child's inability to focus to me. And usually their complaints pertain to their child's focus not while playing, but while doing adult-led activities on an adult-led timetable. Meals, cleaning up, an activity or game that involves a lot of rules, a verbal request like go put your shoes on. Sometimes parents do complain that their child can't focus on play and bounces from toy to toy and never really settles into a game or play too, though. So first things first, this is totally typical for children under the age of 6. It's been found that it takes an average of an hour for children to settle into play. During that time, they're bouncing from toy to toy, activity to activity to find one that meets their needs at that particular time. When they're doing this, they're full of something called dopamine. Dopamine is a hormone that is responsible for making us seek. It makes us curious. It makes us search for things. When you're sitting scrolling through Netflix and nothing looks good, that's dopamine. Dopamine actually feels awful. It feels gross. That's why you get so frustrated when there's nothing that catches your eye on Netflix, because the point of dopamine is to make you search and feel a lack of something. Your brain doesn't know what that something is, it just knows it's missing something, and that feels icky. Now, when you do hit on something that looks good, that feeling of satisfaction, that glow of accomplishment that you feel, that's created by something called peptides. Peptides give you that rush of fulfillment. They make you feel good and satiated. And that contrast between the feeling of dopamine gives us and the feeling that peptides gives us is why the system works. We don't want to feel gross, icky, and unfulfilled. So often during this time, children are kind of irritable, they're distractible, they're bored, they have difficulty settling. Now here's the problem. This is actually a good thing. The more your child experiences dopamine and experiences a peptide hit, the better they get at moving through that period of dopamine dominance. The better they get at figuring out what will solve that sensation. The faster they're able to become deeply engaged in something. And unfortunately, Parents are often actively hindering this mastery by interrupting them. We try to step in and offer suggestions to get them engaged with us. This is why a lot of parents will complain to me that their child can't play by themselves. They'll only play with me. Well, yes, you've trained them literally to view you as the only solution to find a peptide hit. Mom is now the drug dealer. I am dependent on her to get this feel-good hormone. I have no practice doing it myself through activities and independent engagement. I need her to give me the good stuff. And this translates into an inability to focus on things that aren't interesting or engaging or entertaining because they don't have any practice doing it. This is why I'm always running around with my hair on fire screaming about independent play. It's the gateway to a lot of development. Teachers, other parents, instructors, anyone who engages with my children almost always comments on how good they are at entertaining themselves. And it's because I have absolutely refused to be the peptide dealer in our home. My kids are good at that because I've given them lots of opportunities to do it. I posted a photo on my Instagram stories the other week of my kids drawing in the dirt at the side of the road with the heels of their rain boots. They'd gotten to the bus stops like 5 minutes before, and they both immediately dropped their bags and started to draw. And when I asked what they were doing, they informed me that they were drawing a world map, not like of Earth. They're not that academic. They were drawing like a Minecraft map. And while they were doing this, one of the other parents at the stop said that her son, in hushed tones behind me, like, "See? Why don't you just go and play like them?" He'd been whining and hanging off of her since before we got there. And he literally said, "I don't know what they're doing." It's not just that they have independent personalities. It's that they know I'm not going to engage with them, so they are very quick to look at the resources available and find something that will satisfy their needs. In this case, it was mud on the side of the road. So it's important to allow our children the time and space to get bored and figure it out by themselves, even though it can be painful in the moment. And as I said during our episode on boredom, embedded in this process is the practice of self-regulation. If we're hyper-aroused, our brain isn't going to be seeking something to entertain us, it's going to be seeking something to calm us down. And it only takes about 20 minutes to calm the nervous system down, which is where I see parents complaining that their kids will play for a few minutes and then be back in their grill. Okay, your child isn't playing, they're regulating, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, we want that. But we need the follow-up of transitioning out of a regulation break and into a play state. That requires executive functioning skills. In particular, self-monitoring, flexible thinking, planning and prioritizing, organization, and task initiation. If those skills are weak, your child is going to have difficulty moving from regulation to play, because play requires all those skills to be used on a consistent basis. And if those skills are weak, then they take up a lot of energy to use, which will once again dysregulate your child, and it becomes this cycle. I go play, I calm down, I struggle to transition into a deeper play state, so I go attempt to get an adult to provide entertainment. They either entertain me, which gives me my peptide hit, but the second they stop, I get slammed with dopamine again, or they refuse to entertain me, which floods me with dopamine, and I go play for another 10 to 20 minutes. Either way, they're being robbed of all the developmental support deep focused play provides. So how do we solve this problem? By teaching children to regulate and building their skills. And it all comes down to this, because these executive skills, they're the tools our brain uses to do literally everything. From eating food to using the bathroom, to getting up in the morning to going to bed at night, and everything in between. So let's use an example of how this plays out at like the dinner table. You tell your kids to go play while you're making dinner. They do, but they come back whining for food eventually. You put dinner on the table, they take a bite, they walk around the table, they're bouncing around, they're getting distracted by telling you about their day, and all the while they're whining about how hungry they are, yet they have put like 2 pieces of food in their mouth in 30 minutes. Eventually, you give up, they go play while you clean up, and then they're whining again. regulation, entertainment, dysregulation, regulation, demand for entertainment, right? That cycle, because their skills are weak. They can't focus on eating because eating requires them to use their organization, planning and prioritizing, self-monitoring, flexible thinking, emotional control, impulse control, task initiation, literally all the skills. And trying to use them all simultaneously is draining, so then they have to go and re-regulate. So if your child is struggling to focus, there's really no way over it, there's no way under it, there's no way around it. You gotta go through it and support both their regulation skills and their executive skill development. And the stronger those skills get, the easier they will go into a play state. The faster they'll be able to shift out of regulation and into play. The easier it will be to sustain their attention on something over a period of time, even if it's not super stimulating for them. It's the stick in the spokes of that negative, annoying, frustrating cycle. And once it's established and it becomes a new cycle, a positive cycle that you can rely on, and once it gains momentum, is self-sustaining, it becomes a habit. I hope that that gives you a different perspective on focus and gives you some ideas of how you could alter what you're doing to promote your children's ability to focus. As always, if you're struggling with implementing this, please come and join us in the Parenting Posse and we can collaborate with you and help you figure it out. And as always, if you have some serious gut feeling that something is off about your child's focus and they're over the age of 6, absolutely take them to the doctor and voice your concerns. It is never an overreaction if you've got a gut feeling that something's off to do that, okay? So the link for the group is in the description, and all the best with your week ahead, and I will see you next week for another Uncommon Sense parenting class. Bye!